parties have anyone they're waiting for?
No,
Is
Your Honor.
everyone here right now?
Ready to proceed?
Okay, I'm gonna have our panelists just take a second to take a look at the competitors. If you recognize anyone, please indicate. Competitors, if you recognize any panelists, please indicate. I haven't seen no one giving an indication. It seems like we're all good on conflicts. And I will remind our panelists that they can access their ballot, which has been emailed to them if anyone needs, should have been emailed to you. If anyone needs help doing that, let us know.
Yes, please. Your Honor, could you please share with us the plaintiff team number and the defense team number?
Ask the teams to do that.
Your Honor, we're team number 108.
Your Honor, we are team no.
Okay.
Yes. 108. Defense is
108.
So that sounds like all of the competition-related preliminary matters accounted for. Are we ready to go on the record?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon. My name is Rochelle Caseman, and that's spelled C-A-S-E-M-E-N-T. I'm here joined by my co-counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Marco Benson.
Together, we represent the plaintiff in today's proceedings, the parents of Marie Dubarens. We're team number 108, and whenever the defense has had an opportunity to introduce themselves, we do have a few procedural matters as well as some motions in limine.
And it's Ms. Caseman and Mr. Vaniston?
Graniston.
Graniston. I'm sorry.
Graniston. Would you like me to spell it, Your Honor?
No, as long as I can say it, that's what's important.
Okay.
Thank you both. Thank you for being defense.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. My name is Daniela Diaz, D-I-A-Z. Today I'm joined by my co-counsel.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ryan Stewart, spelled S-T-O-E-H-R-E-R, appearing on behalf of Thomas Arkaline High School.
Okay. Now that the appearance on the record, anything we need to take care of before we can bring the jury in?
Yes, Your Honor, we do have some procedural matters and then some motions in limine. We did have a productive meet and confer with the opposing counsel prior to these proceedings, and we've come to an agreement as to the admissibility of a few exhibits. Can I say those numbers off for you?
Sure.
Exhibit 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8A, and 10. With the court's permission, we'd like to move those into evidence now.
Okay, defense. So stipulated to these exhibits being moved into evidence at this time. Then by agreement, those exhibits 1, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8A, and 10 will be pre-admitted. They are in evidence.
Yes, Your Honor. Next, we'd like to ask the court's permission to show what has just been admitted as Exhibit 1 in our opening statement. Exhibit 1 is a photo of Marie Dubarens, and opposing counsel had no objection to this when we shared this with them.
Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Then you may show it. It's in evidence, so you can show it during the
Yes, Your Honor. Next, we'd like to put the court on notice that we intend to read portions of the prior trial deposition of Marie Dubarens. Marie Dubarens has been deemed unavailable for today's purposes. We also intend to read portions of his medical records, which have been admitted already as Exhibit 5 in their entirety. We've notified opposing counsel of those specific sections, and they had no objection either.
Is that all correct?
Yes. Next, we'd like to ask your permission to move about the well of the courtroom during openings, closings, and examinations of witnesses.
Sure. Feel free to use the space. Just when you're approaching adverse witnesses, I'd like you to ask permission. And if you need to come up here for any reason, just ask permission.
Yes, Your Honor. We'd also like to ask your preference on publishing exhibits. Would you like us to ask every single time you publish, or should we just note it for the record?
If it's something that has been admitted into evidence, feel free to show it to the jury and use it if you would. Just please note what you're doing.
Yes, Your Honor. Finally, we just ask that all objection arguments be conducted constructively outside the earshot of the jury, permitting counsel to remain at counsel table.
Okay. If there's nothing on that.
No, Your Honor.
Yeah, that's fine.
With that, we're ready to move to motions.
Okay, let's see if the defense said anything non-substantive before we get to it.
No, Your Honor. You're right.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. By way of background, if I could give a brief summary for Your Honor.
Sure.
We brought this negligent suit, today on behalf of the 14-year-old child who was paralyzed from the neck down. 1 year ago, the head coach of this defendant ordered that child to do a version of the tush-push in a way that we've never seen ran before in the country. Instead of having him go over top of the pile, he went parallel and underneath. And it's our contention today that that just wasn't reasonable under the circumstances and that this caused his severe injuries. Now, our first motion is one that we've actually agreed to prior to today's case with opposing counsel, if I can note that for the record. It involves Exhibit 2, if I may approach with a copy.
Hang on, is the agreement that it's excluded?
No, Your Honor, the agreement is a constructive redaction.
Oh, okay, that's fine, you can approve it.
Exhibit 2 is a form that Marie Barnes and his parents signed prior to playing football at Klein High School. Because the defense has notified us that they're dropping the affirmative defense of assumption of the risk, and per the court's pretrial order number 4, we constructively redact portions of this exhibit that say release from liability and that entire section below the release of liability section.
So the redaction is only that paragraph?
Yes, Your Honor, anything stating release of liability and that paragraph we move to constructively redact.
Defense is that, you understand?
Yes.
Okay. And so this is not being offered as evidence right now, you're just agreeing that if and when it is, that paragraph will be redacted?
Yes.
That's you understand?
Yes.
Great.
Yes, Your Honor. And our final motion is one that involves the head coach of this defendant, Jackie Powell. Now, under oath at a prior deposition, Jackie Powell lied and was forced to admit that lie when confronted with evidence that they did so. Under Rule 608B, we're allowed to question witnesses that have had instances that show a character for untruthfulness. And if Coach Powell's character for untruthfulness comes into question today, we'd just like affirmative permission to ask him about that lie under oath.
Okay, defense. What do you have to say about it?
Your Honor, if his credibility would come into question in any capacity, that no problem should be raised. We would have a problem with this being addressed without any sort of character coming into question. We'd like to reserve and see how counsel intends to ask this question.
Ms. Kessler, can I understand, is this specific instance you're talking about?
Your Honor, this is a specific instance of the witness that will be taking the stand having lied prior under oath at a deposition.
He lied at the deposition?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that was demonstrated at the deposition?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm not going to make a decision on it now. We'll approach it when we get there. Okay.
Absolutely. With that, we're ready to go to openings.
Okay. Defense, anything before we move into openings?
Yes, Your Honor. Defense has 2 motions. One of them has been stipulated with co-counsel. And we can concur. As to that one, Your Honor, opposing counsel and we have agreed to preclude Exhibit 4 and any testimony about its contents. Exhibit 4 is a complaint by a parent sent to Klein High School. Would Your Honor like a first copy?
I'll take it, yeah. This is an email?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'll listen. And so plaintiff, you agree the agreement is the exclusion of Exhibit 4?
Yes, Your Honor.
And this is not something that other witnesses or people reviewed or relied on?
Every expert in today's case reviewed every single exhibit, but we don't intend to get into the character within this email about dehydration or throwing things. That's not our intent today.
That understanding, okay. I just want to make sure we're on the same page and that we don't end up attempting to or wanting to question an expert about something they relied on and being like, well, we're not offering the exhibit, we're just questioning them about the facts. But
Of course.
if we're saying we're not going to do that,
Your Honor, for clarification, that we understand that Exhibit 4 will not be mentioned at all. Any of its testimony regarding that email or email itself should not be.
Here, just a slight clarification, because this goes to our prior motion about the lie. Coach Powell under oath lied and said that a complaint was never filed against them, and this is that exact complaint. So we just asked that if we have to use it.
oh, so you're not agreeing with this about?
Your Honor, we agreed to not enter this into evidence at all throughout today's trial. We'd simply only bring up, if Your Honor would allow it, that a complaint was filed against them without getting into the specifics if we must for impeachment purposes only.
Well, wouldn't you be impeaching them with exhibit 4?
We would be impeaching them with their lines from their prior deposition saying that a complaint was never filed against them when in fact there was, and that is it.
Defense attorney, heard anyone?
No, Your Honor, it is our contention for only impeachment purposes that it mentioned that there was a prior inconsistency in the deposition about an email, but not anything about the email or anything like that.
Okay. Exhibit 4 is out. It's out. So
Yes.
keep that in mind when and if you're approaching that impeachment. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Your Honor, the defense has one more motion. Defense moves to preclude any reading or referencing of stipulation 4 at trial. Would Your Honor like a brief factual background?
Is there an agreement on this, or?
There is not.
Okay, can I take just a second to pull up the stipulation 4, so I can see what it is, and then I will give actual background and otherwise. Oh, this is about the adoption of, by the PAA of this other rule. Is that I'm looking at the right one?
Yes.
Okay, I'll hear from this.
So this case concerns medical safety of the tush-push. You'll learn that the tush-push was legal in Pennsylvania for high schools in 2024. Stipulation 4 references that on May 8, 2024, the Pennsylvania Athletic Association adopted the NFHS Football Rule 9-1, which states that an offensive player shall not push, pull, or lift the runner to assist his forward progress for the following football season. Under 401, this piece of evidence is irrelevant as to what happened in the 2025, as it regards what happened for the 2025 season, and does not make a fact more or less probable as to whether Klein High School was negligent in 2024. As in 2024, the tush-push was legal.
Okay, so your basis for the exclusion of this is relevant.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Response?
Just, can I ask one question, then I certainly will hear from you. When did this injury occur?
It occurred on September 9th, 2024.
Okay, so after this adoption.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, got it. Go ahead.
Your Honor, this is one of the most relevant pieces of evidence in today's case, and relevance is a low bar, but today we're here determining the reasonableness of these coaches when we're deciding negligence. Now, there will be testimony elicited today that that head coach that implemented the play that left that child paralyzed got an email stating that the Pennsylvania Athletic Association was going to ban that play in less than a year. He was also told about it on a separate occasion by his assistant coach, Al Cooney, and there will be testimony elicited from that head coach that after they saw this email saying the play was about to be banned, they didn't look into the safety at all of pushing plays, which is going to go into effect in less than a year. The fact that they did no research on this play, no safety research, no asking for a second opinion after learning that it was about to be banned goes directly to breach in this case. It does make a material fact more or less probable.
Anything else to Ben?
Yes, Your Honor. The fact is that at the time the tush-push was ran, it was legal. Anything that happened for the prior or for the following season does not make a fact more or less probable in this case.
Brief response?
No, I'm ready to vote. On the basis of relevance only, the objection is overruled. I think the arguments, I think you both will be capable of arguing the way the jury should get that.
Absolutely. Thank you. With that, we're ready to proceed.
Anything else?
ready to proceed, Your Honor.
Okay, let's get into it.
On July 1st, 2024, 2 employees of this defendant, coaches for their freshman football team, met to plan the next season. And it is that meeting that brings us here today. Because when they met, they did not meet in a classroom, or in the athletic office, or with chalkboards or game fields. They met in a bar. And the results of that meeting would jeopardize the lives of one of their young players. So during that meeting over drinks, these coaches decided to adopt an NFL play, the tush push. It was a play that just 2 months earlier, Pennsylvania had announced would be banned the next season. Not only that, but this defendant changed the play. They turned their quarterback into a human spear, going straight at and under the defense, instead of over the top like the pros do. This defendant didn't ask whether or not this changed play was safe for children. What are the risks with this changed play? Or is this changed play too much for a kid? Less than 2 months later, they turned one of their young players in a 5'2", 109-pound quarterback into that human sphere, with players pushing his head from behind. You can imagine what happened next. That young player, that was Marie Lubaras. He was paralyzed. And it is on his behalf that his parents have brought this negligence case. A claim that says this defendant and his employees failed to act as a reasonable person would in the same circumstances, and that their failure caused Marie's injury. Put more simply, we will prove to you that this defendant valued the gain of a few yards over Marie's safety. And how will you know that? But it starts with the tush push. It's a play you may have heard of. Our very own Philadelphia Eagles had huge successes with it. But the Eagles, they're professionals. They're big and strong, well-trained, and they're able to run this play safely. But that is not the same for ninth-grade kids. In fact, the Pennsylvania Athletic Association told every school in this Commonwealth that this play would be banned going forward. That offensive players cannot push, pull, or lift a runner to assist his forward progress. Exactly what the tush push does. Again, these defendants didn't ask why this play was being banned. And then comes August. And Marie is picked as quarterback. And these defendants told Marie to do something different, something dangerous. Instead of doing the play with your head upright, bend lower, and lower, and lower, with your head, chest, and neck parallel, with your chin tucked into your chest. This play is tried 4 times. And at the end of one of these plays on September 4th, the assistant coach sees Murray grimacing and grabbing his back. The assistant coach says nothing, does nothing. And just 5 days later, Marie Lubaras will play football for the last time. Because on September 9th, Marie does exactly what his coach told him to do. He gets low with his chin tucked. The ball is snapped. His teammates push him from behind. The top of his head slams into the player in front of him. The defensemen pile on Marie's back. He feels a jolt like an explosion down his spine. At the end of the play, Marie lays there, unable to move. And you will hear that it was this defendant's change play that caused this. Now, there are 2 experts in this case. You'll heard from Dr. Kensington Cutler that when this defendant put Marie in that position, with his spine exposed to hits and players piling on top, that caused Marie's injury. But there will be more. You will hear from the expert that the school hired. A person you will learn testifies for defendants who are being sued. And even they will have to admit that kids' spines, they're weaker. And that even they would not have recommended running this play this way. So, members of the jury, an NFL coach's job may be to win. College coach's job may be to win and to continue educating his players. or the job of a high school, ninth grade freshman, their job is to teach, to train, to develop, and most importantly, to keep the players safe. It has been a year since Marik's injury, and this defendant has not once said, "We're sorry. We could have done better." Instead, they say they've done nothing wrong. Well, the defendant changed this play, and the danger was in that difference. That is why at the end of this case, my co-counsel, Rochelle Casement, she'll stand before you. And she will ask you to return a verdict that tells this defendant that they could have done better, that they should have done better. The only verdict in line with the facts and the evidence in this case. We ask that we find this defendant liable. Thank you.
You, Mr. Granister?
Yes.
Does the defense wish to give an opening statement at this time?
Yes, Your Honor. The violent game of football, every play comes with danger. September 9, 2024. The Klein High School freshman football team takes the field for practice. There's an energy in the air. An energy that you can feel. The team just won their first game. The players just started their first year of high school. Everybody's full of energy, full of excitement. But unfortunately, that practice, split second, devolved to an unimaginable tragedy. Marie Numerous was paralyzed. Members of the jury, there's no dispute as to what took place on that fateful September day. But this trial is not about grief or heartbreak. You're here to determine if Klein High School is responsible for Marik's injuries. The plaintiff carries that burden, a burden that they'll fail to meet. Because in the violent game of football, every play comes with danger. The overwhelming evidence in this case will show that football, in and of itself, is a completely violent game. The game of football, every play, every block, every tackle, every snap comes with risk that something, anything, could go horribly wrong. Today, we'll show you that Klein High School is not responsible for Marik's injuries for the following reasons. First, that football is a violent game. Second, that Klein practiced a legal play. And third, that the play was safe. Now to my first point, that football is a violent game. Members of the jury, you don't have to tune into NFL Red Zone every Sunday to know that football is violent. But if you don't know anything about the game, you're in luck. Because today, you're going to hear from two football coaches. The plaintiff is going to call Al Clooney. Al Clooney was the offensive coordinator of the freshman football team at the time of this horrible accident. We'll call Jackie Ballard, who's the head coach of that team. Both of these coaches have been around football for their entire lives. Both of them have been coaching at the high school level for around a decade. Both are going to agree on one thing, that football is a contact sport, that it's physical, that it's dangerous. Members of the jury, being a member of the high school football team, it's not like being on marching band. It's not chess ball. Football is dangerous. Every player knows this. Every parent knows this. Every coach knows this. In this trial, you're going to hear about horrible, life-altering injuries that have occurred at all levels of this game. professional level, the college level, and yes, even at the high school level. Why is that? As the plaintiff's own witness, Al Queen will tell you, football, in and of itself, is violent. In this game, every play comes with danger, including plays that are perfectly legal. Which brings me to my second point, that client practice of legal play. Now, like many high school football coaches here in the city of Philadelphia, Jack Bell's a huge Eagles fan. And for the 2024-2025 season, she took a page out of the Eagles playbook. The QB sneak push, as it's more commonly known, the tush push. You're going to learn in the 2024 season, tush push was legal in the NFL. It was legal in college football. And yes, it was legal right here in the state of Pennsylvania for high school schools. Members of the jury, not only was this play legal, but it was practiced. You're going to learn that Coach Powell took all of his players out into the field on August 20th. He ran each and every single member of that offense through the play. How they tackle, how they block, how they run. And then the team practiced the play. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. Everything went as planned. The team gained a yard, but most importantly, nobody got hurt. This brings me to my third and final point, that the play was saved. Members of the jury, it's the plaintiff's burden to prove to you, by a preponderance of the evidence, that client high school did not act reasonably in running this play. To do that, as they just said, they're going to call Dr. Kensington Cotter. He's going to get up there and tell you that this play posed an unnecessary risk of spinal cord injury. But here's what the facts are actually going to show. This play has been run in the NFL since 2021. It's been run 316 times since then. Not a single quarterback has ever been injured on this play. Only 2 injuries have ever occurred on that play. Both on the same game and both on the same exact run of the play. You'll also hear that not a single college player has ever been injured on a tush push play. And that prior to this horrific accident, not a single high school player had ever been injured on the play. Members of the jury, we'll call an expert of our own, Dr. Omega Adams, who's going to take that stand and tell you that this play was reasonable, that it was safe. Dr. Adams is going to tell you that this was a low-impact force play, that the players are bunched together, that they run at slow speeds. That makes it a safe play in the NFL. But he'll also tell you that the freshman, it's even safer because the players are smaller, the players are thinner, the players run slower, the players are not as strong. That's what makes the play even safer because the forces are even lower. Members of the jury, what happened here is undoubtedly a tragedy. Just because a tragedy takes place, that doesn't necessarily render somebody responsible. The conclusion of this trial, my co-counsel will come before you. She'll ask to return a verdict. The only verdict consistent with the facts, consistent with the law, and consistent with your own common sense. Client Thomas R. Klein High School, not liable for this unforeseeable, unavoidable tragedy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Give our scoring panel just a second to get caught up. And plaintiff, are you prepared to findings?
Your Honor, before we call our first live witness, we'd like to read in those portions of the prior trial deposition of Marie Barnes, as well as those portions of the medical records. Permission for my co-counsel to take the stand so we can read those questions and answers together?
I'm okay with that, Mr. Fenton.
Yes, Your Honor, we're good with that.
Okay, and remind me, I think we said it before, you provided defense counsel with the portion you're gonna read,
Yes, Your Honor, and I have no objection.
and you don't have an objection to report.
Yes.
Got it, okay.
We started with the prior trial deposition of Marie Barnes. How old are you?
I just turned 15.
What experience did you have playing football before you got to climb?
I played flag football league as a 5th and 6th grader, went to 2 years of football summer camp, and played popcorn and tackle football in 7th and 8th grades.
Tell the jury everything Coach Powell told you to do on August 20th when you practiced the quarterback sneak push.
Coach Powell showed me a picture of Jalen Hurts and said I should be much lower, knees bent with my face and torso parallel to the ground.
How did you feel after you ran that play at practice on August 20th?
I was getting drilled on my back. It hurt. I didn't say anything to Coach Powell. Coach Powell always says every week is grit week. The best players play through injuries.
What happened when you ran the quarterback sneak push against Robert Little?
We lost a yard the only time we ran it. I ended up at the bottom of a pile of 6 players.
What did Coach Powell say to you after the quarterback sneak push against Robert?
Coach Powell screamed at me and said I wasn't doing what Coach Powell told me to do. Coach Powell threatened to replace me.
What happened when you practiced the quarterback sneak push on September 9th?
I ran the play just like Coach Powell told me. I felt multiple players hit me on my neck and back. I felt a jolt down my spine, like an explosion. I couldn't move my arms or legs. Our trainer and coaches rushed to the field. An ambulance took me to the hospital.
That concludes our reading of the trial deposition of Marie Barnes. Permission for co-counsel to step down.
Mr. Garrison, step back down. Defense, do you have any portions of the deposition you would like to read?
No, Your Honor.
Your Honor, now we'll be reading from the medical records from the City of Brotherly Love Hospital, Marie Barnes' discharge summary. Date of admission, September 9th, 2024. Date of discharge, November 10th, 2024. At discharge, he remains quadriplegic. With that, we're prepared to call our first live witness.
Defense of any portions of the medical record they want to read at this time.
No, Your Honor.
Call your first witness.
Your Honor, this time plaintiff's called alluded to the stand. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Hi, everyone. I'm Al Clooney.
Ms. Clooney, where were you working in the summer of 2024?
I was working at Klein High School.
Where is Klein High School?
It's right here in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
What did you do there?
I was the offensive coordinator for the team, for the freshman team. Then I taught a class.
Your Honor, what portion of the witness is Exhibit 1? Can you pay me, Your Honor? How much is your report?
Yes.
Clooney, can you publish Exhibit 1 to the jury? Oh, who is that?
This is Marique Barnes.
And how do you know him?
He was the quarterback, starting quarterback for our freshman team.
When was the last time you saw Marie Barnes wearing that uniform?
It was September 9th during our last practice.
And what was the Marie's last practice?
He was injured during a play that we ran and became paraplegic.
Was there a particular play you were running that day?
Yes, we were running the tush push.
And what is the tush push?
Probably more commonly known as the quarterback sneak push.
So, who was responsible for deciding which plays the team ran?
Our head coach, Coach Powell.
When did Coach Powell come up with this idea for the tush push to be run at Klein High School?
July 1st.
What happened on July 1st?
Well, me and Coach Powell were at a bar. We were just talking about how a record weren't doing so well. We were scared of our jobs, fearful we might get fired. So we were talking.
How did the discussion about the tush push go?
Well, he brought it up. He had said that he had seen the Eagles run it. Said if it works for the Eagles, it could work for us.
When Coach Cole expressed his interest of running the tush push at flying, what was your reaction?
I was nervous. I told him that that was dangerous, that these are high school kids, they're not Eagles players, and that we shouldn't be running.
What was Coach Cole's response?
He just said that, again, if it works for the Eagles, he doesn't see why it can't work for us.
What was the final decision coming out of the July 1st meeting?
That we were going to run the play.
I wanted you to get a better understanding of what this play is ran. Your Honor, showing opposing counsel exhibit 3 and 8A, both of which have been admitted on. Permission to approach? Sure. Permission to make use of an enlargement of exhibit 3 and have the witness step down. Okay.
And if defense needs to move to see, feel free to move.
Thank you, Your Honor. Still need to step down. Can you bring exhibit 8A with you, please? Looking at exhibit 3, how does the push push work?
So essentially the play is involving and surrounding the quarterback. It involves him, and you can see all the players are surrounded.
So how is Marie involved in this play?
So Marie was here, and would you like me to explain the play?
Yeah, so when the ball is snapped, what happens when the play begins?
So when the ball is snapped, the quarterback starts to use and push forward through the center. And then here he has 3 teammates line up from behind him and push him forward straight through in order to gain a yard or as many as.
In these triangles, what are those?
Those are all the defensive players.
And what do they do once the play starts?
They do everything they can to push forward and to tackle the quarterback.
So amidst all that pushing, where is Marie?
Marie was right here.
Indicating for the record that the witness has pointed to the circle with the 3 arrows going toward it as Marie moved right to the position. Now, looking at exhibit 8A, what is that?
This is the Eagles, the Philadelphia Eagles, running the tush push.
So did Coach Powell run the tush push the same way as the Eagles do?
No, he didn't.
What was the difference?
Well, as you can see here, Jalen Hurts is a little bit more in an upright position. Coach Powell had instructed our quarterback to take more of a downward position, to get parallel to the ground and have the top of his head pointing forward and have his chin tucked.
Thank you. In order to proceed.
No, you split it, Mr. Graves, and I'll actually use four things.
Slowly, had there been any discussions about this tush push play at the high school level?
Yes, there was at one point.
And what was that discussion?
We had received an email in May talking about the legality of the tush push, and the NFHS was looking to adopt a rule preventing it.
What would that rule do, in essence, to the tush push play?
It would ban.
So, did Coach Paul ever explain why he designed his play differently?
Yes. he thought this would be more successful. He said he wanted Marie to act like a human battering ram.
As far as you know, Coach Clooney, when did Coach Powell research to see how safe this play was?
As far as I know, he never did.
As far as you know, Coach Clooney, when did Coach Powell speak to an athletic director about the safety of this change to the play?
He never did.
How many times had Coach Powell practiced this play before Marie was paralyzed?
4 times before the last time.
During the previous times before Marie got injured, was he able to get the positioning right?
No, he wasn't. We had to practice it a couple times for Marie to get the position that Coach Powell wanted him to get.
And how did Coach Powell ensure that Marie got into the right position?
He would just yell at him, take his head, push him down further and further to make sure that his head was down to the ground.
On September 9th, how was Marie positioned?
He was positioned just like Coach Powell had wanted him to do.
And what would that be?
Parallel, his back down, his chin tucked, so that way his head was parallel so they could push him forward.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Is there cross-examination for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Clinton.
Good afternoon.
I want to talk to you about the violence of football. You've been around football for your entire life.
I have.
You've been a high school coach for about 11 years now.
Yes.
Football's a contact sport.
Of course.
It's physical.
Yes.
In football games, players can get hurt.
Always a possibility.
In your own words, every NFL game comes with multiple injuries, correct?
Yes. That's why I have to be careful.
In your own words, football is fun.
Yes.
Let's talk about whether Klein High School students were aware of the risks associated with this fun. Showing opposing counsel, pre-marked for identification as exhibit 2. Permission to approach the witness, Your Honor?
Sure.
Ms. Clooney, you recognize exhibit 2.
Yes.
You recognize it because it's a waiver given to Klein High School football players.
Right.
Every player has to sign this waiver to join the team.
Yeah.
And you personally reviewed this particular waiver, correct?
Yeah.
It has been changed or modified in any way?
Nope.
It's a fair and accurate representation of this waiver.
It is.
Your Honor, I now offer exhibit 2 as evidence.
Objection to relevance, Your Honor.
Okay. Why is it relevant?
As Your Honor is aware, it's an extremely low bar to relevance under Federal Rule of Evidence 401. Just must show that the fact or consequence of the action is more or less likely. This speaks directly to whether there was a breach in this particular negligence action. Marie Cooper had suffered paralysis. This waiver discusses specific risks of a football. All football games, all football practices, and participating in the Klein freshman football team. It talks about paralysis and it talks about other risks. It speaks directly to a breach.
Or lack of vision.
Correct.
I'll hear you why it's not relevant.
Yes, Your Honor. Given that the defendants have dropped the assumption of risk defense, any claim that football in general is a dangerous sport and that participating in football increases the risk of harm in any way or is unreasonable is irrelevant in this case, given that the assumption of risk defense is no longer being pursued, Your Honor.
Okay. I don't know that that's the claim defense is going to make. If they make that argument, please object and correct.
Yes, Your Honor.
I don't think that's the argument making at this moment. So I will, hearing no other argument, unless there's other argument, we'll accept the document with the redaction that was discussed previously, which is that release of liability.
Yes, Your Honor.
And exhibit 2 is in evidence with that redaction.
May I approach the witness and retrieve the exhibit?
Okay.
Ms. Clooney, Exhibit 2 talks about some of the risks associated with this violent game, correct?
Yes,
Talks about risks like sprains,
it does.
risks like broken bones,
Broken bones, death, paralysis.
concussions,
Yes,
whole 9 yards. It talks about paralysis, as you said.
yes.
That's what happened in this case.
That is the injury that he suffered, correct?
Now, to join the football team at Klein High School, Rick Newbridge had to sign this one,
Yeah, every player has to sign.
as did his guardian, Sidney.
Yes,
Ms. Clooney, after signing this form, Marie continued to attend practice, correct?
yes,
We practiced 3 times in June, 3 times a week in June.
yes, 3 times a week, all over summer.
Well, in August, it was 4 times a week.
Yes,
So it's around 40 practices.
yes, lots of practice.
During those 40 practices, Marie never said, football's too violent of a sport for me.
No, the football being violent was not the issue, but no, he never said that.
I appreciate hearing what you think the issue is, but he never said that being the quarterback of this team is too violent for me.
No,
He never said that I don't want to run the tush push play because it's too violent.
no,
Let's talk about whether this play was legal when your team ran it. Klein High School is located right here in Philadelphia.
it is.
High school sports in Philadelphia are governed by the Pennsylvania Athletic Association.
Yes,
You're aware that for the 2024-2025 season, the tush push was legal in high school football in Pennsylvania.
yes, during that season, we got an email in May talking about how it was going to be banned, but no, it wasn't banned for the 2024 season.
I'm happy you brought that up. So they considered banning that summer.
They said that in May, they said they were gonna ban it for the following year, and they were sending us an email about it.
So to clarify, they didn't say this play is banned immediately because it's dangerous.
No,
Now, you claim that this play is dangerous on direct examination. I'd like to talk about what you did when you learned your team was going to be running this dangerous play. Now, you mentioned to Coach Powell at that bar that you thought it was dangerous.
yeah, I did.
You didn't document any further concerns to Coach Powell.
No, I told him what I thought about the play, I told him it was dangerous, and we decided to go forward with it.
So 2 weeks after that conversation, you learned it was in your team's playbook.
Yes,
You didn't re-raise your concerns to Coach Powell.
no, I should have, but knowing what I know now, I definitely should have, but I didn't.
You didn't speak to any other coaches about this violent game, about this violent play being run.
I wish I did, but no,
You didn't speak to the principal at your school.
the principal, no,
You didn't speak to the athletic director and say, Coach Powell wants to run a dangerous play with the boys.
no,
You continued as a member of this coaching staff.
yeah, a lot of the guilt that I feel because of this is a big reason why I now no longer work there and I've left. But yes, I should have, and I did.
Let's talk about whether this play was actually dangerous. Now, in the NFL, this play had been run 316 times, correct?
No.
No?
Not the exact play. No, we altered what they normally do when Eagles run it, it's slightly different from the
Okay.
general.
Okay, we'll talk about that in a minute. The tush push play had been run 316 times in the NFL, correct?
Yes,
As far as you're aware, there's only been 2 injuries on any of those plays.
the way that they run it, yes.
Neither of those injuries were sustained for a quarterback.
Not that I know.
You're not aware of a single college player that has been injured on this play.
No, but again, I don't know anybody who ran it the way that we ran it.
Outside of Rick Newbridge, you're not aware of a single quarterback at any level that was injured on the play,
No,
and no instances of paralysis on this play at any level, correct?
no, but again, no one ran it the way we ran it, but yes.
Publishing and marketing, it's already in evidence as Exhibit 3. Ms. Quinn, you said that this play was different. I want to talk about how different it actually was. The offensive line didn't do anything different, correct?
No,
The 3 players pushing the quarterback didn't do anything different.
no,
the defense approaches the play the same way.
Depends on the defense for sure.
The center still snaps the ball,
Yes,
and the quarterback still tries to gain a yard, correct?
yes. But again, the way the quarterback's position is different.
The quarterback just tries to gain 1 yard, correct?
Right.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything else for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Brief redirect, go ahead. Doesn't need to be brief.
Coach Cooney, we've heard opposing counsel refer to this play as being a violent play. Well, who had the final decision about running this violent play at Klein High School?
It was our head coach. By the name of head coach, it was Coach Powell.
And you also have Exhibit 2 with you, do you?
Yes, I believe so.
Under the
Oh, I
second
do not, but
Exhibit 2?
no, I do not.
No.
Please take it.
We're going to permission to report to Exhibit 2.
Sure.
You see the paragraph where it says acknowledgement of the risk?
Yes.
What does it say about precautions?
It says that they acknowledge that all reasonable precautions will be taken to ensure safety, but I accept the risks.
No, as far as you're concerned, do you know of any reasonable precautions that Coach Powell took before installing this dangerous play?
As far as I know, he didn't tell me about any research he did, if he knew anything other than just what the Eagles ran, so no, I don't know about any precautions taken.
No further questions, Your Honor. Mr. Patrick?
Anything from the defense?
No, Your Honor.
Witness is excused. You can grab that exhibit.
Okay, thank you.
I think I cut you off on your answer. You can start that. Does plaintiff have additional evidence?
Yes, Your Honor, we called Dr. Kensington Cotter to the stand. Just a minute to prepare the well.
You mean like that?
Yes.
That's-
May I proceed?
And defense again, whenever you need to move to see.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the jury.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Kensington Cotter.
What do you do for a living?
I'm an attending sports medicine physician at Cedars-Sinai Institute in Los Angeles. I'm also the consulting team physician for the UCLA football team.
Dr. Cotter, have you come to court today prepared to give your opinion to a reasonable degree of medical certainty as to whether the defendant's conduct caused Marik's injuries?
Yes.
Before we get into that opinion, I want to ask what qualifies you to give it. Doctors, who we all know, what is sports medicine?
Sports medicine is a branch of medicine that focuses on both treatment and prevention of injuries that folks get from playing sports or just general athletic activity.
How many years have you worked in the field of sports medicine?
A little over a decade now, coming up on my 11th year.
What degrees do you hold?
I went to the University of California at Berkeley for undergrad. I got a biology degree there, and when it was time for med school, I went to UCLA. That's where I got my doctorate.
Do you have any certifications?
I do. I am board certified in family medicine, and I have a certificate of added qualification in sports medicine.
How many patients have you treated with cervical spine injuries and fractures?
I couldn't give you an exact number, but it's hundreds at this point.
Does that include children and teenagers?
Yes, about 10% of my family medicine practice at Sinai is folks under the age of 18.
And in terms of spinal injuries and the tush-push play that we've been hearing about, have you written anything for other doctors to learn from?
Yes, I authored an article on the risks of the tush-push that was published in the American Journal of Sports Medicine in April of 2024 after passing peer review.
Have you been hired as an expert before?
Yes, once before, but they didn't end up needing me to testify, so this is my first time in court.
What materials did you review in this case to come to your opinion as to whether their conduct caused Marique's injuries?
I reviewed the depositions of the witnesses, I reviewed the stipulations between the parties, and I reviewed exhibits 1 through 17.
Did you have enough information to come to that opinion?
I did.
Did you use a reliable methodology?
Yes, I applied the principles that I use in my sports medicine practice to the facts of the case.
And will your opinions today reflect a reliable application of those principles and methods to the facts of this case?
Yes.
Your Honor, we offer Dr. Cotter as an expert in sports medicine, spinal injuries, and sports medicine as applied to teenage athletes.
Sports medicine, spinal injuries,
And sports
medicine as it applies to teenagers.
Yes.
Defense, do you have any questions for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor, we have no objection to this witness being qualified as an expert in sports medicine. However, we do have a problem with this witness being qualified as an expert in spinal injuries. And what are your...
Yes, if you have questions, go ahead. So before you do that, you're okay with sports medicine? Are you okay with sports medicine as it applies to teenagers?
I will address that after.
Great, got it.
Dr. Cotter, you're not a spinal surgeon.
No, I'm not.
You're not a neurosurgeon.
No.
This is the first time you've ever been retained as an expert on a football case.
Yeah.
You've also never been retained previously as an expert in a spinal injury.
No.
In fact, your board certification is in family medicine.
It is.
Only 10% of your clients or patients are under the age of 18.
That's true.
At this time, Your Honor, defense objects under 702 as to the expertise of this witness in regards to spinal injuries and in regards to sports medicine for teenagers. This witness does not have a specialized knowledge to speak to spinal injuries.
Can you have some questions about it? Can you just tell me exactly what you think is missing?
Yes, Your Honor, this witness has no testimony as to their experience with spines. They've never operated on a spine. They are not a spine surgeon. They are not an orthopedic surgeon. All of these qualifications would be necessary in order to speak to the causational aspect of how this play occurred. Whether they've treated spinal patients, it's not the question today. It's opining on the actual causation of what happened.
Your Honor,
Did he testify that he's treated patients with spinal injuries? Is that what you said?
Yes, he has treated patients with spinal injuries, but he cannot speak to the causational aspect of what causes those spinal injuries.
I just heard the argument.
yes, Your Honor, respectfully, opposing counsel's argument goes to weight and not admissibility. This witness has already testified that they've done hundreds of spinal injury and fracture treatments. That 10% of their practice involves treating children and teenagers. They currently work at a medical center and as an attending physician for the UCLA athletics team, which includes the football team, treating spinal-related injuries. He has met the qualifications for 702, and the jury should be allowed to hear how he deals with the spine in his practice to better explain our testimony and testimony related to causation.
If that's anything else.
Your Honor, this witness may speak to spinal injuries in regards to their experience and what they've treated them with, but as to, in regarding to how the spinal injury occurred, this witness does not have any knowledge as or experience in that realm. Furthermore, only 10% of their patients are under the age of 18. They work more with UCLA college students. Saying that they are an expert for teenagers is not something we should discuss.
Maybe this can help everybody. Can you make an offer of proof as to what the causation is going to be, or you anticipate it will be?
Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Cotter will opine today that the positioning of this new play invented by the defendant's head coach put their spine in such a position that it would be exposed to more injury to hits on the back and on the neck. They've treated hundreds of people with these cervical spine injuries, just like the one we're talking about in today's case, and they certainly can opine to that.
So correct me if I'm wrong. The way it was just represented, it sounds like he's going to stop a little short of saying this is exactly how this injury happened to this person because these two vertebrae were struck. Is that where we're at?
Yes, Your Honor. The doctor will talk about what specific vertebrae was injured on Marique, And they'll also offer opinion testimony as to the causation in regards to the positioning of the spine and going underneath hundreds of pounds of weight within a pile. They certainly can do that within their expertise.
Your
Do you
Honor,
still have the same issues with them?
yes, Your Honor, it is also our contention, and know whether or not opposing counsel is willing to offer them to talk about axial loading. Axial loading is the force applied on the axis of the spine. Any of that expertise is not something that they have the knowledge to talk about. So any testimony about axial loading cannot come into question. Your Honor,
We can get into that or no?
Your Honor, we don't intend on getting into axial loading, but this witness has went to medical school and they know certain. Yes, Your Honor.
The judge is a little acceptable witness as an expert in stated fields. I do think that sounds like at least some programs across the country.
Yes, Your Honor. Doctor, the jury's heard that Maureen had a spine injury. What does the spine do?
The spine is what allows us to be upright and mobile. It allows us to move our heads and our necks. It protects our spinal cords. Lets us be people.
Is the spine the same in an adult as it is for children or teens, excuse me?
No, there's a necessary difference. Children and teens are still developing. Their bodies are still growing. Adults are done. The spines of teenagers are necessarily different because of that.
Permission to approach with what's been admitted as Exhibit 7?
Sure.
Here you go, Doctor. Now, this might sound like an obvious question. Could you just hold this up and tell the jury what we're looking at here?
Sure. We're looking at a model of the spine.
And what are each of these bones that we see going down the spine?
These little bones that you see here are called vertebrae. And when they're stacked together, they're what's allowing us to move our back in various ways. That gives us our flexibility. They're protecting the spinal cord within.
Using this model, please point out where Marie's spine was injured.
Sure. Marie's spine was fractured right up here at the C4. That's up in the head and neck region, what we know as the cervical spine.
And when the spine breaks all the way up there at C4, what does it do to the rest of the body?
Well, our body's functions are immobilized below the break point. So anything below that, you're paralyzed from there down.
I'll take that from you. Now, you just said that children and teens have weaker spines, making them more susceptible to injury. Does the defense's doctor, Dr. Adams, agree with that?
Yes, of course.
And we know that people in the NFL, they tend to be bigger guys. What about Marie in this case?
When he was measured preseason for the 2024 year, Reed was standing about 5 foot 2 inches tall and weighed in at 110 pounds.
I want to talk more about the design of the play that this coach drew up and implemented. Your Honor, permission to republish Exhibit 3 as this enlargement.
Sure.
The jury's heard that this is the setup of the tush push. We've all seen the Eagles have quite some success with this. Is the way that the defendant ran this play the same way we know teams like the Eagles do?
No, they changed it.
And how did they change it?
Quarterbacks in the NFL normally run much more upright than they wanted Reed to be running. They instructed Reed to be bent down, parallel to the ground, chin tucked chest, head, neck, and back parallel to the ground.
Could you show that to the jury?
Yep.
Permission for Dr. Cotter to step down to better explain their testimony?
Sure.
Doctor, please show the jury how the quarterback is usually set up when this is run in the NFL.
When you see a quarterback get ready to take a snap, they're crouched down, their heads up, they've got their hands between the center's legs, they're ready to take the ball, head up, alert.
Indicating for the record that Dr. Cotter has gotten into a crouched position with his head and neck flexed. Now show us how the defendant made that different.
This.
Of course.
So, in the same position, that's how they have Reed starting. And when the center snapped the ball to Reed, he took the ball just like the NFL quarterback would, but here's where it changed. The defendant instructed Reed to tuck his chin to his chest and then to bend over until he was parallel to the ground.
Indicating for the record that I've been moved to a spot where my head, neck, and torso are parallel to the ground, chin tucked to chest. Now, doctor, is moving someone completely parallel in the way that I just was dangerous?
Yep, of course.
Republishing Exhibit 7. Using this spine, could you tell us why that's dangerous for freshman football?
Sure. So in football, normally speaking, ball carriers are taking hits from the front or the side. They're very rarely ever in a position to be taking a direct hit to their spine. And the way that the defendant had Marif going into the play and pile up, he was in a position to have his spine exposed to a greater risk of injury.
I'll take that back from you. And let's go to Exhibit 3. You mentioned that 3 players would be trying to push the quarterback, Marif. Was that the only force that Marif was experiencing on this play?
No. In the errors here, that's the way that it naturally looks, but we've got to remember this is football. The defense is trying to. They don't want the offense to gain the yard. So while Marif is getting the obvious push from behind and getting that force applied to the back, you've also got the defenders working against the offensive line. There's some resistance force coming from the front as well.
Is that resistance force also a risk?
Yes. Anytime you've got forces moving in different directions on one part of your body, that's an added risk for injury.
Thank you. You could retake your seat. Now, in the way that this is normally ran in the NFL, where's the quarterback supposed to end up in the pile?
Well, in the NFL, you typically see the quarterback push more toward the top of the pile. The offensive line kind of tries to cut out the defensive line legs, I guess you would say, and they're ending up closer to the top as they go for that first down.
In the way the defendant designed this play, where would Marif end up in the pile?
The way that he was instructed to run the play, he was necessarily going to end up at the bottom of the pile.
On September 9th, where did Marif end up in the pile?
On the day Marif was injured, he was at the bottom of the pile.
You said he'd be underneath players like linemen. How big were the linemen on Klein's freshman football team?
The average offensive or defensive lineman on the team was 5 foot 10 inches and 200 pounds.
Were you in the courtroom today when Coach Clooney said how many people were on top of Marif?
I know from my review that it was 5 or 6.
Doctor, what did the head coach of this defendant say they wanted the players behind Marif to do to him once the ball was snapped?
Coach Powell said that he wanted those 3 players to drive Marif through the line like a spear.
As a sports medicine expert, is this human spear play used at any level of football? High school, NFL, college?
Not that I've ever seen, no.
Is a human spear play dangerous for freshman football?
Of course.
Is that positioning what caused Marif to become paralyzed?
Yeah.
And what did the head coach of this defendant say about Marif's setup on that play that left him paralyzed?
When he was testifying about September 9th, the head coach said that Marif had run it exactly as he coached him to.
Thank you. No further questions at this time.
Is there a cross-examination for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Dr. Cotter. I want to start off by talking about your conclusions. Your first conclusion was that the tush-push was unsafe. Yes,
Yeah, that's right.
Dr. Cotter, you're not here to say that tackle football should be banned for high schoolers.
No.
You're not here saying that freshmen in high school should play flag football.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Rather, one of your conclusions regarding the tush-push is that leagues should carefully consider the medical issue before allowing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that leagues should be aware of the risks that it poses to people before they allow it to be done.
Now, Klein High School is located in Pennsylvania. Yes,
That's right.
the Pennsylvania Athletic Association governs Pennsylvania high school football.
That's correct.
The Pennsylvania Athletic Association permitted the tush-push in 2024. Is that right?
It remained legal for the 2024 season despite their announcement of the ban.
And I just to clarify, just asked about 2024. In 2024, was that play legal?
Yes, I just said it remained legal.
Now, I want to turn your attention, something you didn't mention on direct was in your conclusions, axial loading. Axial loading, just to clarify, is the force applied.
Objection, Your Honor. Per our previous objection argument, opposing counsel motioned out any mention of axial loading, and thus this is not relevant.
Your Honor,
I don't know if they moved it out, but I understand.
Yes, Your Honor.
Depends what we're doing.
Your Honor, so questioning what was in the report, what she used to come to her conclusions, his conclusions, Your Honor. And per your ruling, you did not say anything about.
I didn't exclude anything of this. No, but I just want to make an offer of proof as to where we're going.
Yes, offer of proof is just solely based on his knowledge of the axial loading and what is written in a prior report and article about it, all of which was used in coming to his conclusions today.
Okay.
Your Honor, rest on those same grounds. Opposing counsel argued that they didn't have enough expertise to talk about axial loading, and now they're diving into the specifics of axial loading, one of which we didn't mention on direct examination, so that this doesn't make that more or less probable at this point.
I don't know. I don't think she's going to ask. I hope that she's not going to ask him to give an opinion on axial loading. It sounds like she's inquiring into the facts and data that were reviewed.
Yes,
I would give her a little bit of leeway to do.
yes.
If we think a door has been opened, you will have the opportunity to ask the doctor more questions.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, just to clarify, axial loading is the force applied on the axis of the spine.
That's correct.
Now, you claimed in your report that multiple players have been paralyzed by axial loading.
Yes.
You'd also admit that paralysis by axial loading is quite rare.
Rare because football teams typically instruct players not to run into tackles with their head down. Yeah.
In your report, you mentioned 2 players that were paralyzed, correct?
Yes, that was Dennis Bird, that was a former player for the New York Jets, and that was Devin Gales, who was a college player.
So we're going to go into those 2 players. The first player you mentioned was Dennis Bird, correct?
Yeah.
Dennis Bird was not paralyzed in the tush push.
No, he was paralyzed when he went head first into a tackle.
Right, he was paralyzed in a defensive play.
Yes.
He was paralyzed colliding with his teammates trying to tackle him.
Yes, when he had launched off the ground and initiated contact with his head down, the same way that Marie was injured here.
Now, I want to talk about that second player that you mentioned, Devin Gates. Devin Gates was paralyzed on a punt play.
Devin Gales was paralyzed on a punt, yes.
And that player wasn't paralyzed as a quarterback.
No, he was a punt blocker, so he was trying to block for his teammate who was returning a punt.
Other than Marie Newbrands, you can't name a single player that has been paralyzed by the tush push.
No, because they don't run it in a way where they're asking their players to go head first into contact.
I'm just asking about tush push. No players have ever been paralyzed on the tush push.
Correct?
Now, forget paralysis. No quarterback has ever been injured on the tush push.
Except for Marie Brown, yes.
Other than Marie Newbrands, no quarterback has ever been injured on the tush push.
Correct?
In college, they run the tush push and no injuries.
True.
Now let's talk about what we know about the NFL. In the NFL, the tush push has been run in 316 times.
Yeah.
In 316 times, only 2 players have ever been injured.
That's right.
You're both injured in the same game. Yes?
Yeah.
Same exact play.
That's right.
They weren't quarterbacks.
No, one was Daniel Bellinger, tight end, and the other was John Michael Smith, who was playing center that day.
And their injuries weren't spinal injuries.
No.
Now, I want to talk to you about another conclusion that you had came to regarding the practicing and preparation of clients in high school. You're aware that on August 20th, Coach Howell taught the team the tush push.
Yes, that was the day that they ran it actively for the first time.
You're aware that on that date,
he spoke to each and every one of the players and instructed them how to run it.
Yes,
Meaning, he took the left tackle, showed him where to stand and how to run.
as I understood it from my review, he gathered the team together as one, and then talked about the play, and then they ran.
Is it your testimony that Coach Powell did not speak to each player individually?
No, I'm just saying that he spoke to everybody, sure, but I don't know that it was individual review.
So is your testimony he did not speak to each player individually?
I believe that he spoke to each player individually.
So then, Coach Powell spoke to the left tackle and showed him what to do.
Sure.
He spoke to the left guard, showed him what to do.
Yeah.
He spoke to Marie, the quarterback, showed him what to do.
Yeah.
He did this with each and every one of the 11 players.
Yeah.
And after he taught it, they ran the play.
Correct.
They ran it a second time.
Yes.
They ran it a third time.
Ran a third time.
After teaching the play on August 20th and running it 3 times, not a single player got injured.
No.
Thank you. No further questions.
Anything from the plaintiff for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor.
Sure.
Doctor, you were just asked about injuries on other football teams. What makes you so concerned about this play in regards to other football plays? What's the difference here?
The difference is that they're instructing somebody to run into contact with their head down, and they're exposing his spine that it's coming over the top of the pile.
You were also asked about this being ran a few times. Based on your review, what was Marie told by their coaches every single time they ran the play?
On August 20th, he kept getting told that he wasn't running it lower enough. So Powell told him that after every rep.
What was the date in which Marie was low enough?
That was September 9th.
No further questions.
Anything else for the witness?
No, Your Honor.
You're excused, doctor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Your Honor.
At this point, the plaintiff rests.
No more evidence from the plaintiff. They have arrested, defense. Where are we going next?
Yes, Your Honor, defense has a motion.
Okay.
Pursuant to Federal Rule of Civil Procedure 50A, we are moving for judgment as a matter of law on the grounds that no reasonable juror could find the plaintiff in this case. May I be heard?
Yes.
Your Honor, we've established that there are risks inherent in the game of football. That speaks directly to the breach element of the rules. Whether or not, no plaintiff witness today has testified that Klein High School breached the standard of care in any way as it pertains to its own students. The plaintiff failed to establish that Thomas R. Klein High School was the cause of Marie's.
Yes, Your Honor, we've heard testimony from both witnesses, Coach Cooney and Dr. Butler, that it was the modification of the play that caused Marie's injury. A reasonable jury could indeed find that his decision to modify the play in the way that he did was unreasonable. And therefore,
They said that that was the cause of it?
yes, the positioning.
They said the position caused the injury.
Yes, the position. Dr. Butler testified that the positioning actually caused the injury.
I am denying the motion. Want to take a break or keep going?
Break.
Okay. I think we're doing okay on time. Someone will tell me if I'm misstating reality of it.
No, you're good.
Let's be back at 3:30.
Yeah, sure. So time elapsed, so you can use the map break to let you know how much you're left. Time elapsed for plaintiff was 28:32. So you got like 31 and change left. And then for defense, time elapsed was 21:02. So you got about 38.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thanks.
See you at 3:30.
This is such a good experience.
Yes,
That
yes.
was such a good. Yeah. Are you, I'm saying. Video of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, close. I'll ask. You guys are talking.
It's a nice room, isn't it?
Okay. I'll ask.
It's so much bigger than. Every time the phone goes on, it wakes up. You gotta put it in. First, that's what I'm saying. Every time it goes to a locked position, it wipes out.
Yes, so they're down, they're down this chair. I can show you all if you want. I know this building is taking years because urban schools are taken up by top escalator, you know, that even in the big cases. So it's like this statement from the elevator. So the one, two, five.
Continue. With a little bit. Study goes into your idea. Okay. Okay, I think we have everyone back now. Okay. We left off with resting, defense, review intent on a case.
Yes, Your Honor, defense calls Jackie Powell.
And as the witness is coming up, I'll tell both teams, some of our scoring panel had asked if witnesses can be instructed just to make sure they keep their voices up.
We have some time to say well.
Yeah.
Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Hi, my name is Jackie Powell.
What do you do for work?
I am the head football coach of the freshman football team at Thomas R. Klein High School here in Philly.
How long have you been working for Klein High School?
I started there back in 2016. So I started as a defensive coordinator and then I got promoted to head coach in 2022.
In 2024, what was the coaching staff for Klein's freshman football?
So we had 3 different coaches. I was head coach, as I mentioned, and then we had an offensive coordinator, Al Clooney, and one other coach.
Now, before we get into the event on September 9th, we want to talk a little bit more about the sport of football. How long have you been around?
So you definitely, I mean, you wouldn't believe it looking at me, but my whole entire life. You know, my dad was a football coach. My brother was a wide receiver. You know, I would go to practices with them. I would watch footage with them. Like, I've just been around it my entire life.
How would you describe your coaching style?
I definitely would describe it as tough love. You know, I like to think I'm not just preparing these boys for football, but I'm preparing them for life. You know, the world is a tough place. So that is my coaching style.
For the members of the jury that aren't super aware about football, can you please describe the physical nature of ninth grade football?
Sure. So ninth grade football is like any other kind of football. It's just as physical. It's a contact sport. We're not playing flag football here. The players collide, you know, they tackle each other. It's just like NFL or college in that way.
Are there any sorts of injuries that can occur in football?
Oh, definitely. I mean, football is a dangerous sport. So, you know, sprains, breaks, you know, paralysis, I mean, any injury really you can think of, honestly.
Now, I want to talk about notifying parents and players of the violence of football. How does Klein notify?
So we have our parents fill out a waiver before their child is permitted to play on my team.
Approaching the witness with what has already been into evidence on Exhibit 2. Coach Powell, what is this?
This is a copy of one of those waivers. This one was Marie's.
Directing your attention to the acknowledgement of risk section. Can you please read that first line?
Sure. It says, I understand that participation in football involves inherent risks of physical injury, including but not limited to concussions, broken bones, sprains, or in rare cases, paralysis or death.
And directing your attention to that.
Objection, Your Honor, Rule 106, the rule of completeness. We ask that this witness finish the rest of that paragraph, which also talks about reasonable precautions.
Okay. Where did the witness stop?
Your Honor, we just ask that this witness read the rest of that paragraph under the rule of completeness.
No, I'm trying to, where the witness stopped at the end of the sentence that
They stop at,
paralysis or death.
yes.
No, it's in evidence already, so it's complete documents in it.
Yes, Your Honor. Directing your attention to that bottom of the document. What's at the bottom?
These are the signatures of my player Marique and his parent Sydney.
You can put that document on the side. I want to talk about the tush push. We've heard a lot about it. Can you describe that play?
Sure, so I'm sure a number of you are familiar with it. Basically, center snaps to the quarterback moves forward with the support of the running backs behind him, and the idea is to gain as much yardage as you can. It's usually used in like short-term yardage situations. You need a yard or less than a yard, that's when the tush push is used.
Would you recognize a diagram of that tush push play if I presented it to you?
Yes, ma'am, I would.
I'm approaching the witness with what is in evidence in Exhibit 3. What is this?
This is a diagram of that play. It's from my playbook.
Now, would an enlargement of that diagram help in your aiding your testimony today?
Yes, it would.
Your Honor, permission to construct the enlargement for the witness's testimony of the exhibit.
Sure.
Coach Powell, using Exhibit 3, can you tell us what each of the players are supposed to do on the tush push?
Sure, so we've got the center right here, we have the quarterback here, this is the defensive line right here. And the players behind the quarterback are the ones who are pushing him forward once the center snaps the ball.
Now, these circles right here, what's their job?
So they push sort of like that.
And you mentioned this play was in your playbook. When did you give the team the playbook?
I gave them that July 15th.
How'd you come in your decision in putting this play in your playbook?
I had seen it run before, I'm a big Eagles fan, watch a lot of football. I had seen the play many times with the Eagles, with other teams, and I thought it would be a good play to add. And plus, most of the plays in youth football, college football, and NFL, they're all usually the same plays.
Coach Powell, when was the first time you practiced this play?
That was August 20th.
I want to talk a little bit more about August 20th. How'd you introduce the tush push to the team?
So I told the team about the play we would be doing, and then I told each of the players, there were 11 players, I told each of them what exactly they should be doing in this play.
You mentioned that you spoke to each of the players individually. Can you, using Exhibit 3, give an example of what you told one of the players?
Sure, so the player on the end, for example, I told him you gotta crouch low, and when you push in, you're gonna push in diagonal. He's not the guy behind the quarterback, he's on the side, so his role is obviously different than what I'm telling the QB or one of the running backs.
Just to clarify, how many players did you do that with?
All 11.
Thank you. You can go back to your seat. Coach Powell, I want to turn your attention to the legality and safety of this play. The plaintiff claims that this play was unsafe. First, was the tush push legal in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Was the tush push legal for college football?
Yes.
Now that we know it's legal, I want to talk a little bit about safety. Have you ever heard or seen a quarterback that has ever been injured on the tush push?
No.
And are you aware of any other high schools running the tush push in Pennsylvania?
I'm not, no.
Now I want to turn your attention, now that we know it's safe and legal, I want to go back to that August 20th practice. After you taught the team tush push, what did you guys do then?
We ran the play 3 different times at that practice.
How did each of those times go?
Each one of them went well. You know, the players were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and you know, it went exactly as I had planned.
Did you run the play after that practice on August 20th?
Yes, we used the play in a game we had against Robert Little on September 5th.
And after September 5th, did you run the tush push again after that?
Yes, ma'am, September 9th.
I want to talk a little bit more about September. That was the first practice and the first game. Can you explain what happened when you ran the push on that?
Sure, so we ran the play. I mean, this was now the 5th time that we had run it, and they did exactly what I told them to, all my players, including Marique, and the play went well. And then after the play, one of the players is calling over to me, and I see Marique, and he's not moving.
Now, you coached these players. Did you notice any player doing something unsafe on that date?
No, I would have said something.
What happened after Marique?
Trainer ran out there, an ambulance came, and he was, taken away.
Thank you. No further questions.
The cross-examination for the witness.
Yes, Your Honor. That would be great, thank you. Your Honor, before I proceed, I'd like to re-raise that motion we brought up in our motions in limine that you held under advisement.
Oh, this was about the 608 issue?
Yes, Your Honor. At this point, we believe the door has been opened by the defense, and additionally, this witness's character for truthfulness has come into question.
In what way? Sorry.
Addressing my first point, Your Honor, on direct examination, they specifically described their coaching style as tough love. They're insinuating that there has been some form of toughness on these players, alluding to the complaint. But additionally, Your Honor, this witness, 608B, we're allowed to question witnesses that take the stand to talk about their character for truthfulness, untruthfulness. We've heard from every other witness today that how Coach Powell ran the play on August 20th and September 5th was actually different than the way it was ran on September 9th. On direct examination, Coach Powell just said that they ran it the exact same way on both occasions, and now I should be able to question them about their character for untruthfulness.
Okay, your position.
Your Honor, there has been no testimony that has elicited anything regarding Coach Powell being untruthworthy in this scenario. On August 20th, they stated that the play went exactly how they had been running. There's been no testimony at this time that there's any untruthfulness in that statement. And there's no testimony that they can elicit that that is untrue as well.
Your Honor, if I may.
No, I just pull up the language of 608 just to remind myself. I agree with my team.
Yes, Your Honor. May I proceed? Coach Powell, you still have Exhibit 2 up there, please?
Yes, I do.
Let's look at one sentence that you left out. You can read along with me while I read aloud. This says, I acknowledge all reasonable
Objection,
precautions.
Under cumulative evidence, this entire document is, or except for the redacted portions, are available to the jury. They can look at it in their own time. Reading this now is just a waste of the court's time.
Overruled on key.
Coach Powell, I'll ask you again. You can read it to yourself as I read aloud. This states, I acknowledge that all reasonable precautions will be taken to ensure safety, right?
Yeah, that's what it says. That's half of the last sentence.
You can put that aside. Perfect. Now, Coach. The first responsibility of a freshman football coach is to keep the children safe, right?
I would agree with you, yeah.
Marique was one of those kids.
That's right, yeah. He's one of my best players that I've ever coached.
He was pretty small compared to the rest of your team.
That's right. He was below average, I would say, in both weight and height.
And you were head coach.
Yes, I still am.
You were the decision maker.
That's right. I had the final word.
And you made the decision to run that play on September 9th. Right?
That's true. Yes.
Marique ran it exactly as you planned it.
That's correct, yes.
And when he did, he was paralyzed.
On that day, he was paralyzed, yes.
The coach. The decision to run that play, it came about at a meeting that happened on July 1st, correct?
That's correct. Yeah, me and my offensive coordinator, we went out for beers and came up there.
So you didn't meet at school, right?
No, like I said, we went out for beers at Wicked Wolf.
And when you were getting beers, you picked a play that no other team at your high school had ever done before.
That's right, yeah, no one had done it. The Eagles just started doing it in 2021.
You picked a play that no other high school, to your knowledge, in the entire country had ever ran before.
None that I know of.
And 2 months before that, Coach, you got an email, right?
You're gonna have to be a little more specific.
I'll be specific. You got an email that stated, starting in 2025, an offensive player wouldn't be able to push a runner to assist their forward progress.
Yeah, next year's rules, that's right.
You still decided on a pushing play.
That's right.
And when you got that email saying that pushing plays were gonna be banned, you didn't hit reply on it to ask why, correct?
No, I didn't reply to that.
In your school, it has varsity coaches, correct?
That's right, yeah, we have a varsity team.
Has JV coaches,
That's true.
athletic trainer,
Yes, Kate.
athletic director.
That's right, yeah.
Didn't go up to any of those coaches and say, hey, do you know why they're gonna ban pushing plays in less than a year?
No, I didn't have any conversations with them.
You didn't have any conversations with the athletic trainer or director.
Yeah, that's right.
You didn't even do a single Google search.
That's correct, yeah, I've seen the play run a jillion times.
So you didn't do any Google searches either.
No.
Now, coach, the way you ran the play, it wasn't exactly the same as the one we've seen the Eagles do, right?
That's right, I slightly modified the QB's position in it.
So we can agree that yours was different.
Slightly, I would say, I modified it.
Now, on direct examination, it doesn't make very interesting. You said that when you ran it on August 20th, it went exactly as planned, right?
Yeah, I think I did say that.
And you're here today claiming that on September 9th, it was ran the same exact way.
That's correct.
Coach, that's not true, is it?
I don't know what you mean.
Every single time you ran that play, you told Marique to get lower and lower to the ground, right?
Yeah, that's right, and on September 9th, the play was run perfectly.
You even took his helmet on one occasion and dragged him down to the ground during those previous practices.
Yeah, that's right.
So I want to talk about why your story just changed from direct examination. Prior to today's case, you sat at a deposition, didn't you?
I was deposed in this case, yeah.
You took an oath to tell the truth.
That's right.
Just like you're sitting there right now under the oath to tell the truth.
That's right.
You're under oath, coach. You lied.
I did, yeah. I shouldn't have, but I did.
Now, coach, you were dealing with 14-year-old children, correct?
I coach 14-year-olds, yeah.
And 14-year-olds, they're not exactly as experienced as the pros are, right?
No.
They're also a lot smaller.
Yeah, that's right.
Republishing Exhibit 1. This is Maurice Newburn's, right?
Yeah, that's right.
5'2",
Yeah, he's 5'2".
109 pounds.
That's right.
And the way that the NFL runs this play, the quarterback is usually upright, right?
Yes, typically.
They typically crowd serve towards the top of the pile, correct?
That's right, yeah.
And the way you design the play, quarterback would be going under, right?
That's right, yeah, I didn't want him getting stuck.
On September 9th, coach, you saw 5 to 6 people laying on this child's back.
That's right.
We can agree that is hundreds and hundreds of pounds on this child's back.
That's right.
Before you had him go under, his head, neck, and body were parallel to the ground, right?
That's right.
His chin was tucked into his chest.
Yes,
His head was pressed against the center in front of him.
that's correct.
He was pushed from 3 people behind,
Yeah, the tush push.
so he could be driven straight through the line.
That's right.
In your words, to make him a spear.
Yeah, that's correct.
Nothing further.
Anything else for the witness?
Yes, Your Honor. Regret. Coach Powell, the plaintiff claims this tush push was unsafe because you didn't research it. Did you research it?
Yeah, I did.
And what did you see?
I mean, all the research that I really needed was seeing the play multiple times. I'm a football coach. I pretty much coach football and I watch football. I've seen the play run, tons of times. I didn't need to do outside Googling on it.
Now I want to talk about the differences between the tush push and the rinse. Did you run the tush push the same way it's done in the NFL?
Not exactly, no. I had him get lower to the ground.
And why did you do it that way?
Well, like we've talked about some, Marik was a lot smaller than some of these big guys in the NFL. So I didn't want him to get stuck by some of the defensive players. So I had him go under because I wanted him to avoid that.
Thank you, no further questions.
Anything on that?
No request.
Excuse, thank you for the. Does defense have additional evidence?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, the defense calls Dr. Omega Adams. Permission set up the law.
Sure. Big, big, big.
Good afternoon. Please introduce yourself to the members of the jury.
Good afternoon. My name is Omega Adams. I'm a medical doctor in Alabama.
Dr. Adams, you said you're a medical doctor. What exactly do you do for work?
I'm a neurosurgeon.
For those of us not familiar with the practice of medicine, what exactly does a neurosurgeon do?
So I examine from spinal, the treatment to the diagnosis, all the way post-surgery. I look at the nervous system, all the way down from the head to the neck to the spine, and determine, best practices.
Where do you work as a neurosurgeon?
I work at the University of Alabama Hospital, and then on the side I have a consulting business.
You mentioned you have a consulting business. What type of consulting business do you have?
So I determine neurological risk, anything regarding spinal injuries from start to finish, like I said.
Are you board certified?
Yes, I'm board certified by the American Board of Neurosurgery, and I'm also a fellow of that board.
You ever testified in court of law?
Yes, sir, in 120 civil, yes, I have, at both the state and federal level. I've been hired 120 times.
Now, when you testify in court, do you typically testify for the plaintiff or for the defense?
For the defense.
You mentioned you have a consulting business. Have you ever been called to consult on injury causation?
Absolutely.
What type of injury causation?
Mostly biomechanical.
What is biomechanical injury causation?
Essentially, it's the study of the body and how it moves and what the causes of injury are for an injury of that sort.
Have you ever treated a football player for a spine injury?
Yes, I have. I've conducted 9 surgeries on that matter.
Your Honor, at this time, pursuant to Federal Rule of Evidence 702, I now offer Dr. Omega Adams as an expert in spinal cord traumatic injuries and biomechanical injury causation.
Spinal cord traumatic injuries and biomechanical injury causation.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Plaintiff, any questions or argument?
No, Your Honor, no questions.
Without objection, the court will recognize the witness as an expert in those fields.
Sorry?
Well, recognizing the witness as an expert in those fields, you can continue.
Dr. Adams, how are you involved in today's case?
Well, I was hired by the defense to determine whether or not the Marik sneak play or the tush push was safe and the causation of injury for Marik numerous.
Were you able to reach that conclusion to a reasonable degree of professional certainty?
Absolutely.
Is your conclusion based on reliable facts and data?
Of course.
What facts and data?
I relied upon medical and orthopedic principles that I've been using in the last 20 years of my practice.
Is your conclusion brought to reliable principles and methods?
Absolutely.
What principles and methods did you apply to the facts of this case?
It's those same principles and methods that I apply day in, day out. Everything that I've learned over the last 20 years, those 2 decades, I applied when I'm looking at the facts of the present case.
What is your conclusion in this case?
That the Marik sneak wasn't unreasonable. It was actually a safe play.
Let's unpack that conclusion. Is this play safe for the spine and brain of a teenage football player?
Yes.
Why is that?
It's because of how bunched together the players are. You know, when you look at that play, nobody's coming at each other with these high speeds. Everybody's bunched together.
Publishing is already evidence as Exhibit 3. Dr. Adams, looking at this diagram of the play, can you explain that bunched together concept for the members of the jury?
Sure. So what we're looking at, we're not seeing any blindside hits, somebody running at full speed and coming out of nowhere. Instead, everybody's lined up face to face, and they're just blocking. We're not seeing one of these big blindside hits that, you know, sometimes can cause injuries like we've mentioned.
Taking down Exhibit 3. Dr. Adams, are you familiar with Dr. Cotter's opinions in this case?
Yes.
How are you familiar?
So I reviewed Dr. Cotter's report, her CV, and her trial deposition, her deposition. And then I've also looked at, I was here in court when she testified, and I also reviewed the article that he wrote. Excuse me.
Did you agree with Dr. Cotter's opinions in this case?
No.
When you reviewed that article, what, if anything, stood out?
So he writes about this play that was from the Giants and the Seahawks. It's how he comes to one of his conclusions. It's the analysis of how those injuries occurred on a push-push play that I disagree with.
What happened?
So the New York Giants run the tush-push in the formation that we've seen a lot today. Two players get injured, the center and the tight end. Excuse me. It's the tight end's position and the analysis of how their injury was caused that personally I disagree with.
Would you recognize a recording of that play for your review today?
Absolutely.
As the record reflect, I'm directing opposing counsel's attention to Exhibit 11. Permission to approach the witness? Sure. Dr. Adams, do you recognize this exhibit?
Yes, sir.
How do you recognize it?
So this is the video that I was just referring to. I reviewed it when reviewing Dr. Cotter's report and their conclusions in today's case.
And just to clarify something you said previously, is this the video of the play discussed in Dr. Cotter's article as a basis for a conclusion?
Yeah, the play's not playing right now, but it is what's going to play.
Is it a fair and accurate depiction of the video that you reviewed in preparation for this case?
Absolutely.
Your Honor, I now offer Exhibit 11 to evidence.
Is there any objection to Exhibit 11?
No objection, Your Honor.
Without objection, we'll receive the exhibit.
Your Honor, permission to have the witness step down and explain what he takes issue with in this case, in this play. Now, Dr. Adams, I'm going to play Exhibit 11 here. Can you explain what part of Dr. Cotter's assessment of this injury you took issue with?
Sure. So the player that we're talking about in the tight end, is that number 82, right? No. It's Dr. Cotter's conclusion that they get injured while running the tush-push and pushing the quarterback. Number 8 was the quarterback. We can go back. Look at 82. That's Daniel Bell. That's the player they're saying is hurt on this play. You see right there, that's where he suffers an MCL sprain. At no point does Daniel Bellinger even come close to the quarterback in that inning.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. Take your seat. Now, Dr. Adams, you mentioned you were in the courtroom when Dr. Cotter testified. Did you hear when Dr. Cotter stated that it's rare for football players to take direct contact to their spine?
Yes.
Do you agree with that assessment?
Not in the slightest.
Why is that?
We've seen injuries commonly where players get hit in the spine.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance? Relevance to other players being hit in the spine.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Defense, why is it relevant?
Your Honor, this, Dr. Cotter directly testified that it is, that's rare for football players to take direct physical contact to their spine in a certain position. surely our expert must be able to evaluate whether or not that's common in football and whether that causes any injuries.
Mr. Grandson?
Yes, Your Honor, it's our contention that the modification of the tush push is what was negligent, not whether or not it was a reasonable decision compared to other plays. And given the fact that the defense has dropped their assumption of the risk defense, it's not relevant to whether or not football players can be injured on other plays that are not positioned the way the quarterback here is.
I understand the argument, so you can ask the question.
Do you agree with Dr. Cotter's assessment that it's unusual in the game of football for a player to take physical contact directly to their spine?
I do disagree with that. It's not unusual. In fact, we see injuries pretty frequently where a player gets hit, injures his spine, and we've seen unfortunate accidents resulting in the game of football.
Dr. Adams, what causes spinal injuries in the game of football?
There's a number of different things. It could be something like an axial loading, which is a force to the head or neck. It could just be the game of football. We're talking about a violent game. We're not talking about your chest club. This is a violent game.
You mentioned axial loading. What's axial loading?
So axial loading is the risk of bringing about additional spinal injury due to forces to the head or the neck.
Why is Dr. Cotter, do you agree with withdrawal? Dr. Cotter stated that the manner in which Klein High School asked Marie Gibbons to run the tush push was unsafe. Do you agree with that conclusion?
No.
Why is that?
Because it's their conclusion that it leads to additional axial loading. The fact is, there's risk for axial loading on any given football play.
When you say any given football play, withdraw. What about on a routine tackle?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Defense.
Your Honor, if there's a risk of axial loading, which this witness just testified, is a mechanism for spinal injuries on any given tackle, that speaks to the level of dangerousness in football, which speaks to causation.
Here's what I'll say. I hope defense is not intending to go through each and every type of play in football and say, is axial loading possible in this play? But I will allow a couple questions on it. So, overruled.
Yes, Your Honor. Is axial loading possible in a routine tackle?
Absolutely.
Is the tush push the only play in which spinal cord injuries have been sustained in the game of football?
Absolutely not. We see spinal cord injuries on various football plays. Think about something like DeMar Hamlin or Ryan Shazier. That's two guys that almost died in the football field, and it wasn't some out of the ordinary play. It was the inherent risk of the football.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. I have no further questions.
Their cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Doctor.
Afternoon, sir.
Doctor, you would disagree with our expert, Dr. Cutter, on a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about some things you agree with Dr. Cutter.
Okay.
You agree with Dr. Cutter that teenagers, they have weaker spines compared to an adult, right?
Yes, generally.
You agree with Dr. Cutter that teenager spines are more susceptible to injuries compared to an adult.
Yes.
And Doctor, you would agree that spines are important, right?
Yes, of course.
And the spinal injuries, they can be severe.
Yes. Terrible when anybody's saying that.
So you also mentioned that the size of the players made this defendant's play safe, correct?
I didn't just say that.
You mentioned that the size of the players had anything to do with the safety of the tush push?
You think today or generally?
Generally.
I have said that in the past, yes.
Yes, because you say that those lead to lower impact forces, right?
Yes.
But the defensive and offensive linemen on the defender's team, they were 5'10",
Yes, the average height was 5.
and the average weight was 200 pounds.
Yes, sir.
But Marie, he was much smaller than that, right?
That's true.
Marie was 5'2",
Yes, and 109.
109 pounds. No, Doctor, during all your research for this case, you only came across 2 high schools that ran the tush push play the normal way.
In Texas, there was 2 different plays. That's 2 more than Dr. Cox found.
But you can't tell this jury how many times those teams have run the play.
No, I just know they've been running it since the 2023-24 season.
As far as you know, Doctor, none of those other quarterbacks were as small as Marik.
I don't know who was running the play.
So the way the defendant designed this play, you mentioned the 200-pound lineman, Marik would be going towards him with his head down.
Yes,
Not the way they do in the NFL with quarterback upright.
that's right.
Not with the quarterback toe circling to the top.
No, I don't think they're the costume.
So this defendant ran the play with the quarterback's head and chest parallel to the ground,
Yes, sorry.
acting as a human spear.
That was Mrs. Passport.
Doctor, you testified that there were no injuries in the NFL or college or in high schools running this play.
For quarterbacks.
For quarterbacks, yes.
That's true.
Now let's talk about why that might be. Doctor, you can't name a single NFL team that runs the tush push play the way that this defendant did.
That's true.
You can't name a single college, doctor, that has run the tush push play the way that this defendant did.
That's right.
Doctor, you can't name a single high school that has run the tush push play the way that this defendant did.
That's true.
Now, speaking of defendants, doctor, you've been hired in 120 cases.
Yes, I said that.
On direct examination, you said you testified typically for the defense. Do you recall that?
No, I said for the defense.
For the defense.
Yes,
And in those 120 cases, you only testified for the defense.
I've already said that, yes.
And in this case, doctor, you knew Coach Powell before this trial.
Yes,
You and Coach Powell were friends.
good friend.
Good friends.
Yes,
And you were aware that Coach Powell was employed by this employer when Marik was paralyzed, right?
yes, I know where she works.
Now, doctor, if your good friend Coach Powell had called you before Marik got injured, doctor, you would have taken that call.
If I wasn't busy.
Yeah. And if you had questions about how his players could become injured, you would have given him some advice, right, doctor?
If her players were injured?
Her, my apologies.
Yes, I could have given her advice.
Doctor, Coach Powell never called you before Marik was injured.
No,
Never texted you.
no,
Doctor, this defendant only called you after they were sued.
yes.
I know you're here testifying that they were reasonable.
That's what my conclusions in this case say after my research and analysis.
Yes, because it's okay to innovate, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, this is the first time for everything.
yeah,
But despite that, doctor, you yourself would not have recommended running the play the way that this defendant did.
no.
No further questions, right?
Anything else for the witness?
Briefly, right?
Sure.
You were asked about relative strengths of high school players and professional players across examination. I'd just like to address that. Generally speaking, who's more at risk of injury in football? High school players or professional players?
High school players.
Why is that?
Because they do tend to have weaker spines than full-grown adults.
And how did you conclude that this would be a safer play for high school players?
It's because of the forces. You see, these high school players aren't as big and as strong as the NFL players. So when they're coming at each other, the forces against one another, they're just not as strong.
Thank you, Dr. Ernst.
You're all right,
Anything on that?
No, you're ready.
Any speech, doctor?
Thanks, sir.
Thank you for confirming. Does defense have further evidence?
Your Honor, defense rests, but we do have a motion.
I will hear the motion.
Your Honor, at this point, the defense renews their judgment of motion, judgment as a motion of law under FRCP 50A on the grounds that a reasonable jury would not have a legal sufficient evidentiary basis to find in favor of the plaintiff in this case. They have failed to prove causation. In light of the testimony provided by Dr. Adams, indicating that axial loading and a mechanism of spinal injuries can occur on any play. It's possible that nearly any football play can result in axial loading, and thus the plaintiff has failed to establish the causation aspect of their case.
Yes, Your Honor, we were still the same arguments we made in the initial motion. That we had the expert testify that it was a positioning of Marik's body during this play that caused his spinal injury. A reasonable jury could deduce from that decision to determine that the defendant was indeed negligent.
I agree, I think there's enough evidence here for the case to go to the jury. So, motion to that. What are we doing next? Need a moment?
Oh, 5 minutes would be great.
Let's go to 14.
Thank you.
Plaintiff, you all have 2010 to close, you'll have 17:30.
Thank you. Thank you.
Lots of. Yeah.
17. Yeah. 17.
Bring everyone back. Are we ready for a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor, may I proceed?
Okay.
It's okay to ask a quarterback to carry their team. You can't literally put the weight of that team on a child's back. That play that this defendant ordered did exactly that. That play left Marie powerless. Those coaches ordered a play that they knew was about to be banned. A play that no other team in the entire nation, not NFL, not college, not high school, was doing. A play that made a 14-year-old into a human spirit. The danger was in that difference. No one disputes today that football is a contact sport. No one disputes that people can get banged up in the game of football, even badly. But no school, especially one for ninth graders, should be unreasonable when it designs and picks its plays. Sometimes coaches follow the rules. Sometimes they break them. You now know that they broke the most important one: keep the children safe. Members of the jury, this is a negligence case. What that means is that we just needed to prove two things to you today. That the way this defendant designed that play, making that child into a human sphere, just wasn't reasonable under the circumstances. And that this caused his severe injuries. He had the burden to do that. By what's called the preponderance of the evidence, and that's simple. It just means slightly more likely than not that they did this. The weight of a feather can make that difference. We've met our burden today. So let's replay how this injury actually happened. Because it all started at a meeting at a bar over drinks. Not at the coach's office, not at school, not while looking at play designs or game films. Those coaches left that meeting saying, you know what? We're going to run a version of the tush push. How did they make sure it'd be safe for a child to do? They didn't. Not a single conversation with another athletic trainer or coach on staff at their school. Try to get a second opinion. Not a single reply to that email saying pushing plays are about to be banned to ask why. Not even a single Google search. Absolutely nothing. Not only that, but they then went ahead and made a huge change to it to make it even more dangerous. A change that no team in the entire country, not even in the NFL, had ever made before. A change that put Marik in a position to have his spine crushed. This is that play. We showed you this diagram multiple times today, and you were able to see that Marik wasn't just being pushed by these three players behind him. He was being pushed into an oncoming line, like this. That is how Klein wanted him. Klein also wanted him to get lower and lower and lower to the ground. They told him that. Every single practice. And even though Coach Powell couldn't get their story straight from direct to cross-examination, You now know that it's true. August 20th, Maurice told, "Get lower." Coach Powell dragged his helmet down to the ground and told him how low to get. September 5th at the game, still not low enough. You heard Maurice's words at the start of today's case. He got yelled at for it, threatened to be replaced because he just wasn't low enough. But September 9th, well, that day was a little bit different. Everyone in today's case agrees that that day, Maurice was exactly as Coach Powell wanted him. His head, neck, and body were parallel to the ground. His chin was tucked into his chest. Head pressed against the center in front of him, pushed by these 3 players behind and driven right through that line. To the bottom of a pile of 6 people. That is hundreds, if not 1,000 pounds of weight just sitting on a child's back. Let me repeat that. That is hundreds, if not 1,000 pounds of weight just sitting on a child's back. When he was exactly as they wanted him, he never wore this uniform again. He was 14 years old. And don't forget, they ignored signs that this was going to be dangerous. Because Maurice tried running the play 4 days earlier, and he left the field grimacing, actually holding his back in pain. The assistant coach, Al Clooney, you heard that she saw it. And she said nothing, did nothing, asked nothing. What else did they know? The size of the players that Maurice would be going up against. They picked those players. They were each double Maurice's weight. Science and medicine also told you just how dangerous this play was. What'd you learn about the spine today? Well, you learned that it's weaker in kids, that when it's bent parallel to the ground like this, it's exposed to more injury from behind, and our expert, Dr. Potter, sports medicine specialist, confirmed this. He said that when you have players here, and you have players here, and you have one completely parallel in the middle, and that pressure is just coming in on both sides, well, that's a disaster waiting to happen. But you didn't just hear from Dr. Potter today. You also heard from Dr. Adams, the defense's doctor, who tried to tell you something different. You're entitled to believe one of them, the other, maybe a little bit of both, but that's your power. Nobody today can tell you who to believe. But when you're deciding that, there's a few things you have to consider. One makes their living caring for children and for families. The other's a professional witness. One has written an article on this precise issue in a peer-reviewed medical journal. That means other experts, other scientists have looked at it and said, this is good science. The other's written nothing. And one knows absolutely no one here. The other is a good friend of the person that they're testifying for. You should also think about their opinions. Because Dr. Adams actually sat here today and said, well, the kids are smaller, that means it's safer. Maybe the causation was just the game of football. Really? Dr. Adams has absolutely everything to gain from testifying today, to keep their business, to keep that money coming in. But there was one thing that even he couldn't deny. That it's not the way he'd recommend running the play. What else did the defense try to tell you? Well, they said that no quarterback has ever been injured on the tush push before. It was still legal in the state. That means it's fine. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. All of those things are true. But members of the jury, common sense alone tells us that things that might be safe for adults to do aren't always safe for a child to do too. And remember, the play we're talking about today isn't the tush push. They changed it. They made it different. And the danger was in that difference. What else did they say? Well, they said that Coach Clooney or any of the trainers, they didn't say anything to the higher-ups. They didn't try to stop this play from happening. Coach Clooney was cross-examined at length about how they didn't speak up. Are they forgetting that their client is Klein High School? And that every single coach's failure, every single trainer's inaction to keep that child safe, all goes back on them at the end of the day? This lawsuit isn't an attack on football. It's not an attack on NFL teams like the Eagles. This is about one dangerous play designed to slam a 14-year-old into a wall of defensemen double his size. One where absolutely no one said, let's get a second opinion. And that's not reasonable, it's negligent. So when you go back and deliberate, I'm going to see this verdict through. First question on that form was the defendant negligent? For all of those reasons, that your answer to this one is yes. Then you'll get to question 2, which says, did the defendant's negligence cause Marie's injuries? In their opening statement, they actually said that this was unpredictable and unforeseeable. Marie was in that position because they put him there. And that is something that absolutely no one disputed today. Your answer to 2 is yes. And then you're done. Members of the jury, a lawyer's duty is to be honest with all the facts. Present them to you honestly and logically. Hold me to that. But hold them to that too. When they get up here, see if they can look you in the eye and answer a question. See if they can really say that a coach who made a 5'2", 109-pound child into a human spear, going straight into people double his size, was seriously acting reasonable. When that answer comes, if it comes at all, or if it does and it just doesn't make sense, doesn't persuade you, tell them you know differently. Tell them that the danger was in the difference of the play they designed. Tell them they broke rule number 1. Protect the kids. Because battering rams don't belong on football fields, and a 14-year-old kid should never be used as one. Tell them that with the verdict that says the responsibility is yours. Fine. You were negligent, and your negligence harmed her. Find them liable.
Counsel? Spence wish to give her a closing.
Yes, Your Honor. Yeah, just a moment.
Yeah, take your time.
Before I proceed, pursuant to a pretrial order, and since we're not pursuing the affirmative defense here,
It's constructively redacted. Yes. Yes, by question 3A. The
Yes.
jury panel will be instructed to disregard the printed question number 3 when they see the 3. As it relates to an affirmative defense that was not pursued.
hear that.
You couldn't hear that. The verdict form that is going to be displayed has a question 3 related to an affirmative defense that was not pursued. So pretend it's not there.
The violent game of football, every play comes daily. On September 9th, 2024, the Klein High School freshman football team lined up. They had run it before, they had run it without. But this time, tragedy struck. Sadly, 14-year-old Marie Newbridge was paralyzed. No one disputes that. It's something no teammate, no parent, no coach ever wanted to see. But in this case, sympathy plays no role in their decision. This case is about whether the plaintiff proved by a preponderance of the evidence that Klein High School was responsible for what happened to him. After all the testimony that you've heard, you know that Klein is not negligent. It's just the harsh truth of football. Every play comes danger. Today we showed you that Marique's injury was a tragic result of an inherently violent sport. Football. The injury occurred on a legal play, one that was practiced. The plaintiff has failed in meeting their verdict, and Klein High School is not negligent for at least the following 3 reasons. The ball is violent. We practice a legal play. Play was safe. As to my first point, football is violent. No one disputed that today. Each and every witness that took this witness stand agreed with that statement. Coach Powell said football is dangerous, no matter how careful you are. Coach Clooney said football is violent. Multiple players hurt every NFL game. Both of these coaches have been around football their entire lives. You don't just have to take their word. You know football is violent because of what the testimony established about it. You heard about players like DeMar Hamlin, Ryan Shazier, Dennis Burke, all players that were paralyzed or critically injured on routine plays. Because football is violent. Everybody knows football is violent. You saw the waiver. This is the waiver that Marique and his guardian signed. The waiver spelled out risks of football. Risks like paralysis. Marique showed up to every practice. He was named the starting quarterback. The plaintiff knew football was violent. That brings me to my second point. They practiced illegal play. The tush-push was legal. Legal in the NFL, legal in college, legal for Pennsylvania high school football. The plaintiff tried to claim that this play was unsafe because it was going to be banned the following year. But members of the jury, the Pennsylvania Athletic Board Association allowed for this play to be legal for days, weeks, months, a whole season. That's not an emergency. That's not a ban out of immediate concern. If the tush-push was as dangerous as the plaintiff wants you to believe, Well, why didn't they get it? Because the play safe, legal. What did Klein High School do with that legal play? Well, you heard that on August 20th, Coach Powell taught the team the tush push. He told each and every one of the players what to do. Coach Powell, the left tackle, showed him where to stand, how to block. He took a tight end, showed him how to stand and how to push. He even showed Marie a photo of Jalen Hurts and how he runs his tush push. He did this with each and every one of the 11 players. And then they ran it. Not once, not twice, 3 times. It worked like a charm. No player got injured. That's how you know by the time September 9th rolled around, this wasn't a surprise play. It was a practiced, prepared, and explained play. At the end of this trial, you will be given this verdict sheet. Question 1. Did plaintiff prove more likely than not that Thomas R. Klein High School, through the acts or omissions of its agents or employees, was negligent? You know the answer to that question? No. Members of the jury, a coach told his player who was a little smaller, get a little lower, a little more parallel to the ground. None of those adjustments in technique violated any rules. Members of the jury, that's not unreasonable. That's not negligent. They didn't breach a standard of care. But we don't know into that deliberation. We don't know how those deliberations will go. If you answer no to question 1, tell the bailiff you reached a verdict. But if you answer yes, you'll be asked question 2. Did plaintiff prove more likely than not that the negligence of Thomas R. Klein High School through the acts or omissions of its agents or employees caused for injuries? You know the answer to that question is also. That brings me to my third point. The play was safe. Sympathy plays no role in your decision here today. But statistics should. You know the play is safe because the statistics showed you. You heard about Dr. Cotter. Dr. Cotter's a neurosurgeon. They actually operate on one of these. They told you that this play was actually safer than most. Why? Because the players crouched together. It's low impact. It's slow. They told you that these are high school players we're talking. They're not as fast or as strong as professionals. They just produce less force. The plaintiff claimed that this tragedy was avoidable. They said you can't put the weight of the team on a player's back. Members of the jury, almost every play in football results in a pileup. How many times do you watch TV and see those players on the ground? They're all on each other's backs all the time. That's football. Football is violent. The plaintiff will have you put your entire verdict on the testimony of Dr. Cotter. But you should dismiss the testimony of Dr. Cotter because you know that her analysis of the tush-push play was wrong. Dr. Cotter, one of her conclusions was that the tush-push was unsafe because of 2 players who got hurt during the Giants game. You saw Exhibit 11. Let's look at it again.
claimed that Daniel Bellinger, number 82, was injured on the tush push while he was pushing the quarterback. Let's look at this play. This is number 82. This is number 82. That's Daniel Bellinger. This is the quarterback. Watch that video with your own two eyes. Daniel Bellinger doesn't come near the quarterback. He doesn't put a hand on that quarterback. Once you know that Connor's conclusions are just wrong or incorrect. Either they watched that video and chose to deliberately mistake the truth, or they never watched that video and just wrote about it in some report. Either way, Dr. Cotter relied on wrong data. Once you know that the way that they analyzed push injuries is wrong. If you take their testimony, it's wrong. Move on. We've heard a lot about what Dr. Cotter said. Let's talk about what they failed to say. Dr. Cotter, at no point in today's trial, told you that they would ban the tush push, that it should be never run again. That never happened. Never came out of their mouth. Because despite all of their testimony, they don't want to ban the tush push either. Dr. Cotter's conclusion regarding the tush push is that leagues should carefully consider the medical issues before allowing play. Well, what do you know? That's exactly what the Pennsylvania Athletic Board Association did. They weighed those risks. And then they chose not to ban it. They chose to legalize it. So when you come to your deliberation today, I ask you to remember that in the violent game of football, every play comes with danger. Football is violent. They practice illegal play. Tush push is. At the end of today's trial, I ask you to return with the only verdict consistent with the law, consistent with the facts, consistent with your own common sense. Find Thomas R. Klein not liable. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Anything else on plaintiff?
Rebuttal, Your Honor?
Sure.
They stood here and said, the violent game of football. In that violent game, every play comes with a danger. Okay. Well, then they picked a play to make a dangerous sport even more dangerous. The fact that football is dangerous isn't a free pass to run an experiment. Make this child their guinea pig. It's just not. They also waved this form around in your face, but they left out their school's promise that all reasonable precautions will be taken. All reasonable precautions. They took none. And the rules. They talked a lot about the rules that are still legal in Pennsylvania. Did they even mention the most important rule? One that Coach Powell admitted on the stand? The first rule in freshman football is to keep the children safe. Their silence on that speaks volumes. Find them liable.
Thank you, everyone. We're going to give our jury panel a moment to send their ballots through. And then we will get you on your way.
Could you repeat those numbers?
It's not big.
Defense is 104.
Could I, would Your Honor permit me to ask?
We don't gotta be so formal, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
fine.
the plaintiff who did their opening reading, I think,